Hello, creators. How are you guys? It's great to hang out with you again for another live stream episode. Also, podcast recording where we get to hang out and talk about issues and things related to growing a YouTube channel. And not just growing in terms of views and subscribers and money, but ultimately reaching people, changing their lives with the messages that we're spreading, and hoping to see just glimpses of a better world through our efforts on YouTube. And today I'm excited to dive in with you on this topic about how to create a hook that captures your audience's attention. And if you've ever looked at your audience retention graphs, perhaps maybe you've noticed that it's very common for you to lose a decent chunk of your audience in the opening seconds of your video. You're looking at that graph and you're saying, okay, here's where I can see exactly how my content is performing and how it's holding people's attention and getting them to go from from the title and the thumbnail to the opening part of the video and holding their attention to the whole thing. And often, we'll see that audience retention drop just really quick right at the beginning. And you kind of want to be like, what the heck? What could I have done in only 10, 15 seconds so far that 20% of the people who click play have already left this video? Was it really that bad? You didn't even stick around to find out whether or not it was good or not. What's really important for us to do as creators is to create a hook that captures your audience. So they click and then the way you open up that video, those opening seconds are so crucial for getting someone to keep watching and to hold their attention through the entire episode, through the entire video. And that's what we're going to talk about here today. A couple principles that you need to implement into your content to do that, as well as some ideas for how you can practically implement those so that when you get that viewer, you are holding that viewer's attention, keeping their attention, so that you're getting more watch time on your videos and you're getting more people to the end and they're clicking and watching another video, and your channel overall just begins to grow, reach more people, change more lives, make more money, right? That's what we're all about here is reaching people, changing their lives, and solid businesses are an important part of that. So looking forward to diving into this topic with you guys today. Those of you who are in the live stream, it's great to see you. It's so fun to see. I feel like I look forward to this time where I get to hang out with some of my friends. I see Lily Tree is here like every week. And so is Harley Pebley, and Elaine Smith is not always here, but typically here. Good to see you, Eileen. And it's just so cool to see Pippi the Pug and Carfluent and Gail Sasso and Moments with Marvin and Colorado Travel Trips and 8D Drops and Spring Choice Welcome Service, Lex Brightworth. Good to see all of you guys. And for those of you who are listening to the podcast later, if you want to join us live for one of these episodes, we live stream them at youtube.com/video creators every Monday at 2 p.m. Eastern time. And my favorite part about the live stream part is, well, one, it's accountability for getting my podcast episode recorded. But two, I like it because it is, there's a community here who comes around these videos, around these live streams. And my favorite part is when I see you guys helping each other out in the chat. And I see someone ask a question that maybe is off topic, which is one I won't address typically in a live stream, or one that is on topic, but is really specific to you and doesn't really apply to other people listening, or whatever the case might be. And seeing you guys help each other out in the chat is my favorite part of this. So that's why I continue to live stream them. And if you want to join typically a couple hundred other YouTube creators in a live stream, listening to the podcast of this, we'd love to have you guys join us at some point. So we're going to dive into this topic. You have questions, ask them in the chat. As you guys know, Laura, my producer, is moved on to other things internally with our business. And I think she brought on someone named Eric. And I'm seeing people say, hi, Eric, in the chat. But I'm not sure which one Eric is. So we will get this figured out, hopefully. And Eric, if he's here, will put those questions in front of me. And I should have taken more time to connect on the front end. But it didn't work out the way I thought. So here we are. We're going to roll with it. And we'll answer some questions here after we talk about this topic for a little bit. Okay? So there's a couple different ways to hook your audience's attention. And when we think about the hook, I know we typically think about the opening
seconds of the video. And that is probably technically true, okay? But before you even hook the audience's attention with the opening seconds of the video, the opening hook actually only works if the title and thumbnail did its job properly. So the expectation for your video actually doesn't start with the opening hook. It starts with the title and the thumbnail. The title and thumbnail sets an expectation. Okay. And so the goal of your title and thumbnail, if we're going to talk about hooking an audience, we got to start at the very beginning of the viewing journey, which is a title and thumbnail. And it needs to create a question mark in the mind of that viewer. It has to create some sense of intrigue. And it has to get them to answer some sort of question in their mind. Because when the title and the thumbnail, and this is true not just for educational content, but for entertainment content as well, when it teases a story or teases some value or causes them to ask a question, then it is the brain needs to kind of figure out what is going on here. The brain needs some sort of resolution. And the stronger the tension that's created in the brain, the more likely that viewer is to click and want to watch that video. Okay. So the hook doesn't actually start with the title and thumbnail or with the opening seconds. It actually starts with the title and thumbnail. It sets an expectation, creates intrigue, gets the brain to be like, what's going on here? I need to see what happens next, or is that really possible? Or, oh wow, how will this person respond? And then the content itself is crafted in a way that keeps people asking those questions throughout the entire content, throughout the video. It is like, okay, there's one question that gets resolved, but then there's another question. They're like, oh, how's this going to work out? And will they actually make it through the whole thing? And how will this person respond to that thing? Or I bet that person's going to be mad, or whatever. There's got to be these ongoing questions that the content continually causes the viewer to ask, and it starts with the title and thumbnail. Okay. So a really good example of this that I think one of the persons who's probably doing it better than anyone else right now is Mr. Beast on YouTube. If you guys are familiar with his content, youtube.com/MrBeast6000. And his titles and thumbnails do an excellent job at creating intrigue, creating a question mark, some sort of tension in the mind of the viewer that's like, what? What happens there? I have to see this. And so some of his recent titles are like going through the same drive-through 1,000 times. Okay. Now, if you click on a title like that, what do you expect to see? As that's an expectation. The opening hook then has to be something about that, right? It can't be like, oh guys, I'm kind of hungry right now, and man, I feel like I could just eat a whole lot. It's got to be at the drive-through, about to start this journey. Another title I did recently was "Anything You Can Carry, I'll Pay For," and the thumbnail is like people at the checkout at Walmart. And so you're like, what? This guy pays for everyone at Walmart? What was that about? Or I gave my brother 24 hours to spend $10,000 or $100,000. And you're like, how is he going to spend $100,000 in 24 hours? If you have that opportunity, what do you do with $100,000? Another one is, I opened a free car dealership. And you're like, how do you do a free car dealership, right? And you start watching, you're like, this person's legitimately getting a free car. Now, this person's getting paid money to leave with a free car. And how are these people going to respond? And you're getting to hear these people's stories, right? It works really well. Now, I know in this case, we are doing a, that is an entertainment type of channel. But what about in a educational context? Where in an educational context, the same principles apply, but you're not really saying what happens next as much as how does that thing work, or how do you do that? And the main mistake a lot of people make here with their title and thumbnails is that they're just kind of purely just saying this is what it is.
as opposed to stating this is why you should care, or this is the difference it's going to make, or this is why it's going to, like, how it's going to help you, or something like that. So if the title and thumbnail revolves instead around the reward or the benefit that someone's going to get, then that typically works better. So for my example, if I made a video called how to enable two-step authentication on your YouTube channel, it would get some views, right? But the people who would click and watch that are the people who probably already know what two-step authentication is, and they don't really need to click and watch that because they've likely already made that decision on whether or not they're going to enable that, right? As opposed to making a video that's titled after the reward or the benefit, which is how to protect your YouTube channel from getting hacked. Right? Like, now I know why I should care. And the people who are going to click and watch that video are now no longer the people who know what two-step authentication is. They're clicking and watching because that is a value that I need. How do I prevent my YouTube channel from getting hacked? And then in the process of watching that video, they get introduced to this thing called two-step authentication. And now they know what it is, but more importantly, they know why they should care, and they're more likely to actually go enable it on their channel to prevent their channel from getting hacked, right? So title, even educational stuff, not necessarily after the what it is, but the why this thing matters to reach those people who might not speak your lingo. But even the people who do, like those people they understand more clearly now the reward and the value they're going to get and why this video is worth my time. So same principles apply. Pitch educational. It's got to be value driven, results driven. It's got to be benefit driven. And if it's entertainment, it's got to be story driven in terms of like what happens next, or how does that happen, or is that even possible, or how does that person respond, things like that. All right. So the way the ability of your video to hook a viewer and capture their attention really starts with the title and the thumbnail. That sets an expectation, and now the next thing that happens now is the hook of the video. And the hook of the video can really be done a lot of different ways, and I want to give you 3. I think 2 of them are okay, and then there's like a best way to do it, and then there's actually a 4th way that I've been experimenting with and seeing other people experiment with, which is seeming to work pretty darn well in terms of how you hook someone's attention. Okay. So before you start shooting your content, it's important that you already know what the title and the thumbnail is before you even press record. That's really the only way you can now shoot your opening hook of your video to match exactly and complement exactly with the expectation that was set in the title and thumbnail. If you shoot your videos first and then you go back and then after it's all edited, it's uploading to YouTube and you're sitting in front of that metadata screen, you're like, shoot, what's the title of this video, right? And that at that point is when you start working on the title. It's going to be extremely difficult, if not impossible, to craft a really good title that integrates with the opening seconds of that video. Now, it could be a title that fits and would make sense after you watch the video, but it's got to work the other way around, right? These are people, they click the title and thumbnail first, then they watch the video. So the title and thumbnail needs to work without you watching the video first. Okay, so the best way to do this is to determine what the title and thumbnail will be before you even press record. Then once you know what it's going to be and what people are going to actually click on, then you go ahead and shoot the content. And then you can craft those opening seconds to fit. Okay? So when you open up that video, you know the title and thumbnail is, and you're saying, okay, now there's a couple of different things you do from here. Number 1, and this is what a lot of I see, this is probably the most common practice, especially for educational content, is that they just kind of restate the title and give the visual of the thumbnail in the opening seconds. And it's kind of lame, just to be honest. It doesn't really seem to work that well when the way you open up your video is basically what I already clicked on. So if it's a video about how to prevent your YouTube channel from getting hacked, and the opening is like, you guys know there's a lot of hackers out there, and they really are trying to get into your YouTube channel, and they are going to do anything they can to get into your channel so they can take your money and blah, blah, blah. Like, right, you're kind of like, yeah, I get it. I know. I clicked on this video to learn how to prevent my YouTube channel from getting hacked. You don't have to tell me that. Like,
I get that already. Okay. So just reiterating what's already been the expectation. I mean, it's better than other things I've seen people do, which is like the title and thumbnail is based on something that actually happens like 8 minutes into the video, but the opening 5 to 6 minutes of the video have nothing to do with the title and thumbnail. That is like performs the most poorly. I know the idea that some people have is that, well, I'll title it after something at the end of the video so that it'll hold their attention to get to the end, waiting for this thing to happen that was set up by the title and thumbnail. It doesn't work that way. Now, it might work that way for your diehard loyal subscribers who would kind of watch your video anyway and they want to kind of wait around. But for a first-time viewer who's never heard of you before, they only clicked on your title and thumbnail because it pitched some sort of value or story that they wanted to consume, and that doesn't come to like 8 minutes later, they're out. They're gone. They're not even around that video anymore. High abandonment from those people. Okay, so don't just restate the title and thumbnail. Although it is better than doing that last thing I talked about, which is like not having until 8 minutes in. A second thing, a common way I see people opening the video, and this is typically more for for entertainment style videos, is where they will kind of use something that's kind of like a coming up on type of segment. Like it opens with a couple quick, highly edited clips of here's what's happening in this episode, and like, oh my gosh, what happens next? And then boom. And then it goes back then and fills in the backstory of like what led up to that point or something like that. That works okay. It's okay. The thing I've been seeing work probably the best though recently is, and I've been trying to do this for my own content, but it's really hard to get out of that old habit, which I tend to restate the title and thumbnail. I have this, I have this thing. I'm just stuck in this rut, and I'm trying to move towards this third thing and experiment more with it. I think I tell you guys, I do a lot of experiments on my channel all throughout the year. I'm constantly testing things, seeing what works. And then we have our clients test things too. We're doing it. Then we're like, here's an idea. I think it might work on your channel. Would you mind testing this? And they'll be like, sure. And they'll test it for like 10 videos. And I get to see the data then at that point and see how it works. Right? And then we can test it across other channels. So that's a benefit I get to the business that I have, is I get to help other people test things like this. But I think the one thing that's working better and better is that instead of starting the video with a hook, is you open the video, you use your title and the thumbnail as the hook, and then you open your video just right into the content. No hook, really, So, for example, we are working with one creator. Her name is Joni Simon from The Bite Shot, is the name of her channel. And she did a video where it was about lighting, how to do food photography. And she would normally open up her videos kind of like the way I just kind of explained, by restating the title and thumbnail in like 5, 10, 15 seconds or so. But this time she opened it up just getting right into the content. So you click play, and it opens with, so the first thing you'll need to do, that it's actually surprising how this works when you light this food. Like she's like right into the content. And people are like, whoa. Like, in fact, go back and look at her graph. It actually goes up. The opening, people like weren't expecting that. And so when they go back to you look at the graph, and the first, 15 seconds, 20 seconds, instead of it being a quick drop, instead it goes up to like 110% or something. Like people are going back and rewatching that segment again. And so just like getting right into the video or the title and thumbnail, like, so using those as your hook and then opening right into the content seems to be working well. Now, it's not working in every case. We have experimented with this in a few different contexts, and it doesn't work all the time. But I think there's some sort of principle here that's worth considering and thinking of and getting into that and seeing what's happened here. I'm kind of skimming the chat here, and I love what some of you guys are saying here in the chat. You're saying, hey, yeah, get right into it. And Sarah Makes Art says, I made a video once about how to do a grisali and why, but instead of, I don't know what that is, sorry. But instead of titling it how to do a grisali, I titled it how to get your values right in your painting. There you go. Way better. See, I don't even know what a grisali is. I don't even know what values in painting is either. But I'm obviously not your target audience. Tronics Fix says, yes, that's what I've been doing because my audience hated my quote hooks. The drop off at the beginning is way less when I don't have an intro. And Regina's hair salon says, jump right into it. And everyone else, Regina's saying yes, and everyone's giving thumbs up and no intro. And yeah, so it looks like you guys are on the kind of on the same thing. Yes, and people are freaking out because there's a bug on my mic. I know. They're all over. They're all over my studio right now. They're just stink bugs. Yep, I know. There you go. Okay, now the chat can go back to their normally scheduled conversation. But people. Okay, yeah, you're right. Yeah, there's a yes, the bug is that big. But people are like, that's how you're holding our attention, Tim. That's your hook, is to put two big bugs on top of your mic. I don't see the second one. I don't know. Sorry, guys. They're there. They're all over my office. I don't even care about them anymore. People, you guys are cracking me up. That's scary. Okay. It's just, I'm used to it. Yeah, it's not a big deal. And you're right, Americanus or whatever, stink bugs won't hurt you unless you're walking upstairs. Yeah. Okay, so back into the content. You guys are awesome. Is like, okay, I lost my train of thought. We went from talking about titles and hooks and things to bugs. So Tech with Brett. Good to see you, Tech. Tech's awesome. You guys don't know his channel. You should totally check him out. He's got a really cool story. But he says, I love these ideas. I just tried a longer intro hooked that worked well, but I want to try straight into the video. Yeah, try it and let me know how it goes, Tech with Brett. I would love to hear what your experience is like with that. All right. So answer a few other questions that you guys have, and or let me give you a few other ideas. Then we jump into some of the questions that you guys are here. Get a cat. Kitty cats love chasing killer bugs. They're not killer bugs. They're stink bugs. Okay. So a common question I often get around this is how long should the intro be? Are we talking like 5 seconds, 2 seconds, 15 seconds, 20, 30 seconds? How long should it be? I think on average, like a good 10 seconds is probably good. You could creep up to 15, but you could also maybe do it effectively in 2 or 1 with just a really strong visual to make people go like, what? And if you do that, that's the main principle we're talking about here. Now, if you're creeping up into the 30-second range though, I think you probably need to figure out how to talk about this better. I think you probably either the video is just too broad, or you haven't really figured, like if you take 30 seconds, I think people are like, he has no idea what he's talking about. Like, I'm out, right? I think you need to really be able to do this pretty succinctly and make it short and punchy. I don't really script my videos, but if I do script anything, it's the hook and typically the end, because both of those are very time sensitive. They're very compressed in terms of like everything I need to do in a very short amount of time. So with the hook, I typically will script that for my videos, and it's usually only like a few sentences long. And then I'm like right into the intro and right into the content. The same for the end is because I only get 20 seconds. I gotta still be delivering content, get those end screens on, give a pitch for the next video and people to watch, and do that before they leave the video. So that's really quick as well. But when you're talking about the opening seconds though, I would say the quicker you can do it, the better. But if you're creeping past 15 to 20 seconds, especially long, I'd say it's too long. Why don't you go back and figure out how to explain this better and more quickly, and with, do it more succinct and a little bit more punchier. Okay. And then, so now if you're doing an educational video, look at my notes here, and you take 30 seconds to explain the hook, then that makes a little bit more sense, but I would still try to shorten it up. All right. Now let's dive into some questions that I know you guys have, and I want to welcome some of you guys who are new members. Welcome, Soul Moons Rising. Good to have you as a new member. And the Kids Cooking School. Hey, good to see you. She just went through Video Labs earlier this year, so good to see you again. We're going to I usually give channel members preference, and they get first priority. Give them priority for their questions over the other ones. So I'll go through some of theirs, and then we got thank you for the super chat, Carfluent. Thanks for the shout out of the podcast. You're welcome. And Tom from Green Shorts DIY. Tom, you are like probably my best super chatter. So thank you, Tom. As a DIY channel, I'm usually building a project. My thumbnail shows the finished project, which I also tease in the first few seconds of the video. Yeah, so yeah, especially if you're doing a DIY project or a food channel or something like that, we've found the same thing through our tests, is that it usually seems to work better that the title and the thumbnail revolve around the finished project. Like, this is the thing people want, and they look at it and be like, oh, whoa, that looks so good. Like, that's what I want. How do I make that? Then they click, but you need to affirm for the viewer right away that this is what you want. So basically they're like, I want that. How do I make it? But instead of it just being like an image, now you got a camera that's kind of rotating around the object, or that's showing a few different details that maybe the thumbnail didn't show. And they're like, so they click thinking this is going to be awesome. Now they're like, oh my gosh, this is even better than I thought it was going to be. Yes, show me how to make that thing. And then you get into the content. As opposed to what sometimes people do is they just kind of get right into step 1. Here's how you make it. Step 2, then you do this, and then 3 and 4 and 5. And then they don't see the finished result until the end. For DIY project-based stuff, we have not found that works as well as teasing it, giving a good, strong, look how awesome this is. You're missing out without this, and I'm going to show you how to make it right now. Okay. So, all right. So we got a couple good questions here from you guys. We've got the Kids Cooking School question. When I connect my thumbnail to my hook, do I need to always add teen in my thumbnail when it's part of my cooking name? And then definitely speak the word teen in my intro hook. No. Okay. So I'm familiar with her channel a little bit since she went through Video Labs. She has a cooking channel that is specifically teaching teens, and even on the younger spectrum of teens, like maybe more like tweens, how to cook and prepare food. And she's worked with, she has trained a lot of world-renowned cooking experts and celebrities and things like that. So this lady on the channel definitely knows her stuff. So if you want to check it out, it's the Kids Cooking School is the name of the channel. And this is so she's asking, do I need to just call out my audience? Basically, will that make for a better hook? And it can. I especially think it helps when you don't have like if it's very specific to teens, because there's a lot of cooking, you want to make this specific to like, this is for teens. You want to make sure that people know that. And so that when they're not confused of why you're like using certain lingo or explaining things certain ways or something like that. I don't know that you need to add it to the thumbnail, but identifying that target audience and making them feel quickly like this is for me, like that's really important. Now, how do you do that? I don't know if it needs to be using the word teens in the titles and the thumbnails and the intros and stuff like that. It could just be as simple as visually showing that you're cooking with some teens, right? And if you do that, then that would probably help a lot. So I don't know that you need to do that part, but yeah. So I guess if it was me and like I was coaching you through that, I don't think I would do it. I would probably find some other ways to do it, but by indicating that it's for teens, but without necessarily having to repeat the word teen a whole bunch of times. Also from a member, IG with Steve, what's a good audience retention percentage at the 1 minute mark? Oh man, like so many variables, like even including the fact of how long is your video. What if your video is 1 minute long, right? That's different than if your video is 15 minutes long. A good audience retention, like always compete with yourself. Just look at what's normal for your videos and then say, okay, what do I need to do to get this 2% better next month or 5% better or whatever the case may be. Green shorts. Okay, answered that one already. John Spike explores. Should you not leave the audience wondering what's going to happen and then tell the story? Yeah, that's what I think that's what I was explaining for narrative stuff. When you can open with that coming up on, you just serve as a really good hook. Like, oh, what happens next? Or how does that turn out? Or like, are they for real like that? And then you go back and fill in the backstory for them. Now, Mr. Beast does not do it that way. His stories are just so outlandish. So you're like, you know, like, he's like, I bought everyone on my team a new car. And you're like, what? Why did, or whatever. And then you're like, why would he buy everyone a new car? And then it opens with him literally dropping, like a crane dropping stuff on on his friends' cars while they're out shopping. Like, not for a car, but out spending money or something. He's in the parking lot dropping stuff on their cars. They come out, find their car smashed, and then he surprises them with the money and they go buy a new car. And it's that whole journey, right? But so you know what's going to happen halfway through, that they're going to go buy a new car, but it opens with the cars being smashed. So it's like they're not kind of giving away the punchline, but it is opening with like a pretty strong hook of like, what is going on here? Now, I'm not saying it needs to be that sensationalized necessarily. It just kind of needs to be thought through and how you do that. Tom M. So the thumbnail should be the hook. How do you limit the words to make sense on the thumbnail? I have, again, informal testing. I'm not saying this is true across the platform of YouTube, but in our informal test, it seems to us and my team that text on thumbnails tends to work better for educational content, and no text, but a very clear teasing visual of the story tends to work best for narrative. And by clear visual, I mean like this is basically an Instagram worthy photo. That, and it depends on the audience. If you're going after like young teens or something like that, going more on the bright colors route tends to still work pretty well. But if it's for an adult audience, and it's a story, a very like Instagram worthy photo, that means like you're not just kind of second guessing whatever this thumbnail is going to be after the video is uploading. You are coming out, you are going out to the shoot knowing already in your head, this is the thumbnail I need to capture. And so you are posing for it, staging it, snapping that photo, and then editing that. So yeah, I would be careful with how much text you're putting on the thumbnail. And it seems to work best if the text complements the title, not repeats the title, which is a mistake I see a lot of people making. It's like whatever the title of the video is, they just repeat that in the thumbnail. And that's not what I'm talking about here. Marcia. How do you hook people again halfway through when they're already hooked in, if that makes sense? Yeah, that's what I was kind of saying in the beginning, is you need to hook someone, but then but continually hold their attention by this tension that you're creating, which is what? How does that happen? You get into the video, and then you start seeing, okay, that's coming, but now having this other question, like, how is this person going to respond? And like, oh my gosh, are they going to be angry? Are they going to be mad? Are they going to like hate this person? You know, and then so you're constantly like creating and answering questions. This is tension of creating conflict and resolution. Over and over again. Now, I use conflict and resolution because that's kind of technically what we're talking about. But conflict, I don't mean it has to be a fight necessarily, or someone got punched in the face. It's kind of more like, what's going to happen? There's some tension in my brain. Oh, that got resolved, but I still have this unresolved tension. And that's why you hate movies or shows or books or whatever story that doesn't really have a good ending. It's because you still have tension that's unresolved. And you hate that. So don't do that to your audience, but that's when it's going to keep them continually hooked and going through it. Dan Gills, I don't know. How about a short verbal intro, then do a short channel intro before getting into the main video? I think you're doing too much there at that point. So if you can do it all pretty quickly, succinctly, then maybe, and I kind of tease this, I kind of do this a little bit on my channel, which is I'll do, which I'm trying to get away from, as I've told you, which is like, hey, this is really important. You need to know about it for this reason. If you don't, this is what's going to be at risk. And here's the benefit of if you do this, okay, on your channel. Then quick branded intro. Then, hey guys, welcome. My name is Tim Schmoyer, video creators. We're going to help you reach people, solve, change their lives. And to do that, you need to, and then get into the topic. All right, so I do that a little bit, but I am finding that I think I need to get into this even more quickly, and That is what Trina, my producer, is going to help me do. And by the way, Trina took over the producing. Thank you, Trina. I guess she was on the live stream and just heard what was going on and decided to jump in. So I appreciate that, Trina. And Eric, I see that you're here in the chat, and I guess there's some miscommunication. We'll get you set up for next week and kind of fix whatever happened there. So sorry about that, Eric, but thank you, Trina, for jumping in. Tech with Brett. I am working on a video that has a climactic event that happens at the end. Do you think I should tease the event in the hook or just hold the final reveal to the end of the video? If your title and thumbnail are teasing the climactic event at the end, then yes, you need to tease it in the beginning. If there's a surprise event at the end that is not teased in the title and thumbnail, then I would just hold it and just surprise them with it at the end. The comes back to that principle: the title, thumbnail, opening seconds all need to connect. They all need to be together. But if there's a disconnect there, even if it's a surprise, but it's not a surprise the viewer was expecting or looking forward to, it still causes a little bit of confusion. So I would definitely make sure that all of those align. Ridge Adkins, what's a good way to know if you're doing the right stuff or wrong stuff when you don't have any active subscribers? That, Ridge, is when you're just kind of start practicing these best practices, these principles that we're talking about right now, and just see like what kind of traction you get. You will avoid a lot of wasted time by just kind of starting with the stuff that we're teaching here at Video Creators, and a lot of other people teach is like, this is how you get started, and don't do this thing and that thing. But as you'll learn then, as your channel starts growing and you start getting momentum, you're like, okay, this works, but for my audience, I think I could do this even better. And for this type of value I'm trying to deliver, I think this would work even better, right? And you start experimenting and tweaking from there. But when you're first getting started, I would say just do what you're learning here, implement that, and then take it from that point forward and do that. Okay? Soul Moons Rising, brand new channel member as of today. How would you work a hook in a live stream as people keep joining later in the show? Yeah, so that's what I've been trying to do right now. Right now is I open up my live streams, and maybe you guys notice, with a hook for the podcast. Now, this is a podcast. You can take a lot longer than a few seconds to set your hook on a podcast, because this tends to be more long form content. People are settling in for a longer piece of content. And so you can take a little bit more time to open it. And I'm thankful for that, because it typically takes you guys in the live stream a few minutes to join. The notifications will go out, and maybe you're like in the middle of something and you join like a minute or two later after you get the notification when you kind of finish up whatever you're working on or something. And so in a live stream, I usually open up my hook for the podcast audience, knowing that you guys in the live stream will likely be here about a few minutes later. And by that time, I am typically into the content, and now I'm practicing my other principle or experiment I told you guys, where you're getting right into the content. And so by the time you arrive, I'm hopefully right into the content, and you're like, oh, we're already into it. Like, what have I missed? And you're kind of like almost feeling like you're playing catch up, which is a good tension, I think, in my mind on a live stream. And then the way I feel like I try to hold your attention is I'm just into the content, and people on a live stream don't leave because there's actually value being presented, as opposed to like, oh, he's just, off there picking his nose or doing whatever, like I'm here, I'm active, I'm paying attention. I'm indicating that I'm noticing the chat, that I see what you guys are writing, which I am. History Treehouse right now says, wish you were at Vid Summit, Tim. I was working for Daryl, coordinating, interpreting services. Great conference with tons of knowledge from many creators. Right? So when people hear that I'm doing that, and by the way, I do wish I was there. It was great to see all the live streams and photos, but I had a family thing I committed to already. And so for me, family comes first. It's hard to argue with that, I hope, for you. And so I did not make it this year, but I am already confirmed for 2020. So I'll be at Vid Summit next year. But as I interact with comments like that, people are like, oh, he's presenting good value, good content, and he's noticing us, which is the value of a live stream over like me just shooting this as a one take and publishing it, just as a video on demand instead. It's just this community interaction and things. I like getting to know you guys. Tronics Fix says, yes, miss you at Vid Summit too. I missed a lot of you guys. It was fun seeing all the pictures and photos and be like, oh, he's there. Oh, he's there. Oh, but for context, I had spoken in 15 different states in 11 weeks. So like the 11 weeks prior to that were just crammed with travel and airplanes and hotels and speaking events. And I would have done one more at the end of all of it for Daryl, and for you guys too. But I just couldn't. I needed to be home for my family, and I already had an event, that family thing that we had committed to. So yeah, you guys were saying, sweet, no argument for me, making family first. So anyway, to go back to your question, Soul Moon's Rising is that's how I try to hold people's attention, is by kind of offering that attention between I'm noticing the chat, answering questions, providing value, and doing my best to do that. I've learned though that it's hard for people to listen to this later, like you guys who are in the podcast audience now. I've learned it's hard for, like, you guys tend to lose interest whenever I go to the chat, because it's a signal to you guys that there's no more additional planned value coming. Anything from this point on is just kind of like accidental, and Tim doesn't even know what's coming, right? And that's true. But it's different for the people in the chat who are live, and they're like, this is why I'm here now, is like this, because the chat rate goes way up when I start reading the chat and interacting with them. Let me see if I can see the chat rate right now. Go back to analytics. Chat rate was 10, and it typically jumps up to like 70, 80 after I start interacting with people. So so it's the opposite value for the chat. They love the interaction, and like this is something I get live that I can't get on a video on demand, but it's the reverse for people who are listening on demand. So anyway, it's a tough tension, and I try to do my best, and I feel like I've kind of found something that does the best of both worlds, but that's kind of where I'm at now. And all of you guys are saying best of lucks, good. And then even you guys are like, see ya, leave ya, okay, bye. So see you guys later. But I'm looking forward to hanging out with you guys again next week, especially if you're in the podcast audience and haven't joined us. We'd love to have you join us for one of these live streams so I can answer your questions and interact with you guys. And thank you so much, Trina, for jumping in and doing the producing. And hopefully we get to meet Eric, Modern Day Tech. I think that's who it is. Laura, even though she's not supposed to be working, is in the chat anyway, so I think her and I will connect and get all that sorted out. And but thank you guys for being here, for those of you guys who are in the podcast audience. And by the way, if any of you guys want to sit down with my team so one of my team, one of my strategists or myself, and just look at like how are my hooks, how are my titles and my thumbnails. Like, I feel like my content is really awesome. I feel like it's valuable. I'm trying to serve this demographic of people really well, but it's just not gaining traction. Can you help me move past these roadblocks and unlock growth on my channel? That's what we do almost all day, every day, for not me necessarily, but other strategists on my team. Love doing that for you guys. So you can just go to go to videocreators.com/consulting, or just go to videocreators.com, click on consulting at the top, and book a session with someone on my team. And we would love to do that and just give you guys a full hour. We're going to look into your channel before you jump into our live call. We're going to come prepared with a lot of different notes and ideas for you, and then spend an hour just talking through them with you, and like just helping you get from, like, if you're at point A, wherever your point B is, we're going to help you break through that roadblock and get to that point by giving you a plan and a strategy for how you can actually get there. So we love doing it. We love connecting with you guys. And one of our core values here at Video Creators is people first, and it's results driven, and it's mission oriented. And I think you guys can maybe see, hopefully, those three, how they play out in our content, in our business. And we want to work with you guys to do the same. So hope you guys get to do that. Thanks for hanging out. And I look forward to hanging out with you guys again next week for another Video Creators podcast episode. See you guys then. Bye.